Back to the talk that keeps America moving. This is Road Gang Radio. Let's rejoin your host, Jimmy Mack, live from the Big Easy.
I am going to make Jeff Pierce, who's sitting across from me, feel a little bit better. In the master headset, our listeners actually were able to hear our good friend Madison out there. Madison, do we have Jeff's microphone on yet? We weren't expecting someone until a couple of days ago, and Madison, by the way, is sitting in for Phone Master Dre, who is taking care of a personal matter. He's fine, by the way. He's doing just Dan and Grandy. We're going to do a quick mic check here. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Not bad. Not bad at all. You can actually lift it up a little bit if you want to. Get it.
Speak directly into this.
Yeah,
I'm new.
It's okay. You've done it once or twice. One of my favorite people in the world, Jeff Pierce, actually joins us this morning. We're also going to be having a great conversation. By the way, we got Chris Gonzalez, and make sure I get this right. Lemuel Israel, is it Lem? What do we go by? Do we have him on?
Yes.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
1 second.
Gonzo, you there?
There we go.
Hey, Lem, you there?
He does go by, this is Chris, he goes by Lemuel.
Okay, Lemuel. Okay, fantastic. And, of course, Chris Gonzalez, who is actually sat in the same seat that Jeff is sitting in right now, both join us this morning. Guys, give me a second. Let me kind of catch up with Jeff, and then we'll slide you into the conversation. This is a great conversation, by the way, Jeff. We're going to be talking about, if you teach a man to fish, if you catch a man a fish, you can feed him. If you teach a man to fish, you can feed him for the rest of his life. When did you get here, by the way, Jeff?
I've been here since Tuesday for the Vietnam Veterans of America National Convention.
That's kind of fantastic. How is that going?
It is great. So the convention, annual convention, so this is their big meeting where they vote on all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in the Veterans Mall with a lot of our partners and just sharing the stories of our Vietnam veterans.
That's fantastic. Hold on one second. Maddie, would you be so kind as to mute our friends on the other side? Thank you. Deal with 1,000 things. By the way, Jeff understands this. By the way, Madison, this is really great. You'll appreciate this. So Madison just joined us about a month and a half ago when we first started. And her first time producing the show by herself was also our first remote broadcast.
Oh, wow.
So Dre got his first vacation after 2 years of only getting Christmas off when I went up to Ocean Springs to produce the show for him. Because he called me on Christmas and he said, right before Christmas, he said, "Man, can I have Christmas morning off?" And I'm like, "Yeah, since you haven't had one in forever." And I drove up to Ocean Springs and produced the show for him. The first time Dre got more than 2 days off in a row was last week. He had,
wow.
In 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
In 2.5 years, he had not had a day off. The only days off he'd ever gotten were the times that I was able to go up to Ocean Springs and sit there on the board and produce my show or Dave's show simultaneously while doing the show. And Madison gets trained up really quickly, and then Dre finally gets his vacation. And then we realized in doing that vacation, and he had to take it, it was been planned by his girlfriend and the people in his life who loved him. He was then told, we were then told, "Oh, yeah, we're going to TXTA that weekend, too." So, Madison, you're learning how to produce. Oh, and by the way, you're now responsible for our remote broadcast. And she did it. We got through it in one piece, completely intact and all that kind of stuff. So you've been here for the week. I know Brad Bentley has talked about it. Has it been a good experience? And by the way, it's been mercifully, I know you're going to be stunned by this, mercifully cool in New Orleans compared to what it normally feels like, which, by the way, for anybody else's standards, isn't mercifully cool. How's the week in New Orleans been?
It's been fantastic, an opportunity to talk to these veterans and their partners. I mean, it's such a healing. You've been with me on these things, right? Yeah. And it's such a healing for these folks to share their stories of service because there's so many years nobody cared about our Vietnam veterans. So giving them the welcome home that they deserve and letting them share, it's been heavy. There's been some heavy stories this week about their service. Yesterday, I was blessed to talk to a nurse who served in Vietnam, first female veteran that we talked to all week that served in Vietnam, and her story of, service and learning so much in Vietnam and her family's service and what happened to her when she got home.
Wow.
And she shared all that, and Janelle, who's working with me, she's one of our regional liaisons, was like, you could see her remembering everything as she was telling her story through the interview, and it was one of those just she just laid it all out there from start to finish, from becoming a nurse and then deciding that she was going to go into the United States Army, and then her all expense paid trip to Vietnam and working in an OR in Da Nang. In the late 60s, it was incredible. And that's what we're doing, right? We're sharing these stories of service. We're remembering these veterans. We're honoring them. And we just created an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with the Vietnam Veterans of America, a long time coming, so we can continue the legacy of welcoming them home, because there's an expiration date on the Vietnam Veterans of America.
I'm living with one right now. He's 82. He has lost 60 pounds. His hair is still brown. He's in better shape than he's been in 3 years, but he's still 82.
Right.
And one sits across from me every Monday, and he is still sharp as a tack, still goes to the gym, but he is 76 years old.
Our youngest Vietnam, I'm sorry to interrupt, your youngest Vietnam veteran is 68 years old. So then you've got the Vietnam veterans in their 90s, right? So there's a whole broad spectrum of Vietnam veterans. And so, they're working on ascension planning for the Vietnam Veterans of America to continue their legacy. Wreaths Across America, of course, is going to be part of that. And we're also going to make sure that the 50th Vietnam commemoration mission of welcoming home Vietnam veterans continues as they sunset later this year in November.
Yeah, and it's such an important thing too, because there are many people who for a long time carried that grief with them, didn't think that anybody cared because they had been enculturated when they returned home in the first place. As Dave Nemo says, how many truck drivers, in fact, were people who simply wanted to be left alone, get in that cab and drive away from what they had experienced because they thought nobody wanted to listen. And now it turns out that a lot of people are out there, in fact, listening and creating space. You came in right after this, but the gentleman I just talked to, Tony Stewart, he had a marvelous moment. I said, let's just start with his wife, Lynn Catula. Let's talk about her for a little bit. And as he began to do it, he said, I'll tell you, he said, can we pivot to talk about, the grief inside the book? He said, because while I have learned to kind of accept being sad and enjoy being sad, he said, talking about Lynn makes me really, really sad. And a lot of people don't understand when you begin to articulate that, it brings it all back up again. But we need to kind of continue to create space for people to talk. It's what you guys do over there. You have amazing programming. You are constantly finding ways to give veterans voice, especially when they're the ones taking the initiative. It's not just a matter of like, well, come on our show and we'll let you talk a little bit, then get out of here. You're constantly in your programming going, do you have a show? We can make room for it. Let's get some stuff going on here. Let's give you the space to kind of feature your show and let people hear what it is you have to say. That's, as I sit here and bloviate, that is one of the real keys to making all of this work, is to encourage people that there is a space to talk. Because Chris Gonzalez, who we've got on the phone here, he actually reached out to me and said, I got another story for you. And it really is what you guys do over there with your radio program, Jeff Pierce's. What you guys do is you create a space to allow people to unburden themselves, to articulate themselves, or to maybe feel better about what they think they've been sitting on for a while, right?
Absolutely. And also making sure those stories are shared. I'm gonna share this with you because I'm just super excited about this. So you're familiar with the history of the USS Missouri, right? The
Yes.
Japanese surrender. So we just did a partnership with the USS Missouri Foundation. And originally, I was angling to get a free trip to Hawaii for their
Right there with
ceremony. But through the course of conversation with their foundation, I found out on the shelf they had these firsthand accounts from sailors who served on the USS Missouri. And they were just sitting on the shelf. And I said, let us produce a podcast for you. So we just launched The Last Battleship last Monday, and it is firsthand accounts from sailors who served on the USS Missouri. And this is cool, and it may sound a little weird to say that this is cool, but when you Google these sailors' names, you're getting their obituary. Okay?
Yeah,
because
that
they're
is
not
cool.
with us, right?
That is cool. I mean, there's nothing uncool about that. The fact is, and it continues the mission. Nobody's saying anybody's name for the last time. That's one of the great things about this modern technology that often infuriates us. There is an opportunity to hear people's names said over and over and over again. No one slips into the ether and is gone if we choose to love them, right?
And their voices live on, right? And you and I have talked enough for a living to know that somewhere there's a soundbite, right?
Right.
But these are regular just regular people who enlisted in the United States Navy or Marine Corps, and now their voice is going to be heard again, which is just phenomenal.
By the way, you know Gonzo, don't you? You know Chris Gonzalez, don't
No, I
you?
don't. So I'm excited to meet him.
Oh, my God. Chris Gonzalez, by the way. I want everybody to head on over, and we'll bring them on now. I want everybody to head over to NXTStep Vets, nextstepvets.org. I want people to head over to VFW5354.org. I want people to find him at Gonzalez-Gonzo on the LinkedIn. By the way, there is so much to talk about here this morning. Chris Gonzalez has brought a friend. I'm going to let him do the actual introductions, but first I want to tell you about Finding Purpose to Thrive. Next Step Vets is a 501c3. It is dedicated to assisting unemployed veterans find their purpose to thrive. Next Step Vets has a focus on 4 main pillars: mental, spiritual, mentorship, career path. Notice there's a trajectory there, guys. Often, Chris starts at the most basic needs. Do you have a place to put your head down at the end of the night? By helping veterans translate their passion and purpose into financial freedom, we help veterans thrive. Basically, at the end of the day is, let's figure out a way to get you a bed that you can make and a checkbook that you can balance. We'll figure out the rest from there. Chris Gonzalez, Gonzo, how did I do in describing your organization?
Wonderful, wonderful, man. Good morning. How y'all doing?
Doing great. Say hi to Jeff Pierce.
Hey, Jeff. Hey, there's one thing, Jimmy, that you did not add into what they do with the Vietnam Veterans of America and everything else is it's because of our Vietnam veterans that our current veterans are in the place they are, right? We know that through struggle comes resilience, and the Vietnam veterans, I mean, they joining, with American Legion, with the VFW, DAV, they really did create a much better lifestyle for the current veterans today. So for that, I will forever be grateful.
Amen to that, brother.
Yeah, my dad, who's the closest experience I have, his dedication, because of his brother Michael at Way City, his dedication to make sure that anybody else who served after him never got treated the way other people got treated, never found themselves alone. Those Vietnam vets, John Fry comes to mind, a lot of folks come to mind, who came back and said, look, this might have happened to me. This ain't going to happen to anybody who's come after me that I love. It is well said. Okay, Chris, I want you to introduce your friend. I want you to both kind of unpack this story. I think Jeff's going to get a big kick out of this, and our listeners will be really supercharged by it. When you reached out and wrote me the message, I want you to kind of tell folks who you've got and what he's up to, because it's so cool, and then we'll introduce him.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. So obviously one of the things that I've done trying to help others is make connections with community services in the counties and the cities, with the VA veteran services in the area. And then essentially they help point folks that are in need, right? So I received a phone call from our Hamilton County, which is Cincinnati, Community Services, and let me know about a veteran that their house had just burnt down. Now, this veteran has 2 children living at home with them. Plus, I mean, it's just, I was like, well, no, doesn't matter. Veterans Commission was going to take about 3 weeks before they could pay for his hotel. And I said, I'll step in, take care of the hotels right away. Now, through our conversations, obviously, everything I always try to do is figure out where does that person stand, where are they at mentally, and what really drives them. One of the interesting about conversation with Lemuel was I quickly picked up on his passion for growing. That's one of the things that he used when his house burnt down, was to be able to use gardening as his way to be able to, this was his therapy, right? It was his mental therapy to be able to build it up. And I saw the passion, I saw the light within him, and I'm like, there is no way we can't take advantage of this, right? So we've been working on essentially starting his own nonprofit. 3 Thumbs Up. It's a community garden that's going to basically feed the food pantries in the area, the veteran families in the area. Plus, he'll be providing knowledge to people that want to do their own gardens and even volunteer within the area, right? So the motto for 3 Thumbs Up is growing with nature. So you're not just growing the vegetables, you're growing your mind as well, right? Lemuel's a great guy, great personality, and I'll just kind of really turn it over to him and let him tell himself a little bit of that experience he's had with Next Step.
Lemuel, good morning, by the way. And this is one of those moments I actually wish my wife was here on the air with us because, and along with the Nemos. I don't know if you know this, Jeff. Lemuel, the man who this show actually kind of all springs from, Dave Nemo. He, his daughter, his wife, my wife are all avid gardeners. And I mean gardeners. I don't just mean like, I got a little flower plant in the window. I mean, their backyards are showcases where that's how they stay in shape. They just do this work. And I kind of want to begin there. In regards to gardening, and good morning to you, do you find that it not only takes care of your mind, but it actually allows you to stay fit and active? And good morning.
Good morning. Yes, I'll answer that with avid yes, a vivid yes, because not only does it help your mental, but it definitely helps your physical. I mean, you have to bend and dig, and there's so many things you have to do, and it does. It helps you. It helps you physically, and the mental reward is just. I mean, when you see your product, when you see your plants growing, that's your reward. I mean, that is nothing like it.
When did you find out you had this passion? What was the moment? Because we always kind of play with this and play with that, and at some point we're doing something and we realize, oh my God, I have a green thumb. Oh my God, I can grow stuff. When was the moment when you realized, I really want to do this, I really enjoy this? Was this something from your family, or did you come to this late?
It's funny. I always say, because people have most of my life, people have said, you have a green thumb. And I don't look at it like that, because it's just sun and water. You put it in the sun and water, and it's going to grow. Although, there are things that you have to do. There are commitments you have to make to the plant. But to answer your question, my grandfather was a gardener, a farmer. His cousins were farmers. So, we grew up, going to the garden with my grandfather. He had every fruit tree I can imagine in his yard. So I grew up with that. It wasn't until I got out the service that I decided to buy my first plant. I was living in Dallas, Texas. I went out, bought me a yucca plant, a few other plants, and, started growing them. I had a lot of satisfaction. I went on vacation, and I left everything, closed the curtains, and left. I think I was gone for 2 weeks. I got back, everything was dead. So it just, that just gave me a whole different perspective of growing. Like, oh, you got to actually take care of this stuff. So, and from there, I'd say in probably 87 is when I first started my first garden, my personal garden. So I've been doing it since then, and I've been learning since then. So.
By the way, I will tell you this too, Lemuel. That is one of the best ways to find out if you're good at something, by screwing it up royally. And then,
right.
But I'm not kidding. You screw things up royally. I mean, you make a complete bollocks, as the British would call it, of the whole situation. And then you kind of go, okay, what did I do wrong? If the next time you do it, you fix it, you might be good at it. That's one of the best kind of confirmations. And sometimes walking away for 2 weeks and coming back and finding a lot of little shriveled souls begging for water is a way to remind yourself, you know what? If I'm going to do this and I go away, I might want to have to find somebody to water my plants. It makes a difference.
Exactly.
It makes a difference. It's about a relationship. Do you talk to your plants? Do you talk to your produce when you're growing it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They're my babies. Yeah. And I want to take back, Trish said I had 2 kids at home. I actually have 5. I have 5 kids at home. So the age from 14 down to 6.
And by the way, don't you have more than that? Do you have 9? Do I understand 5 kids at home and 9 in the whole game?
Yes, I do. I have 4 daughters, and then kind of started my life all over again. All my daughters are grown, and I have grandkids with them. I have 6 grandkids. And I kind of started all over. I was just minding my life, gardening. I was actually putting a garden in. These people saw my passion for gardening, just like Gonzo did, and they started making flyers for me. Because I put their garden in. I actually had some great ideas that I wanted to do for their garden. I wanted to do this deck garden that I had seen that was coming out of California, and they didn't want to spend the money to do that, so they just got basically a raised bed with landscape timber, And then once I built it, then they said, well, that's a little too low. Can we bring it up this high? So we wound up building it up high enough so the lady didn't have to bend over. And after they bought all the landscape timber, all the dirt, I said, well, we could have built the deck that I was trying to build for you guys. But anyway, but anyway, I just wanted to showcase my work because I'm also a carpenter. So I wanted to showcase my work to, get business from their neighbors. And it did, I started getting a lot of business from their neighborhood and stuff like that. And I got lost. I'm sorry.
No, you didn't get lost at all. As a matter of fact, going into the weeds is exactly what you want to do in a conversation about gardening. What is really fun about this is my wife, as I told you, is an avid gardener. We have a garden back at home that she is now agonizing about because we're renting that property because we live in California. The moment we got to California, she turned. I'm talking with Jeff Pierce here as well, and Chris Gonzalez, Gonzo, along with Lemuel. The moment we got there, Jeff, my wife transformed our balcony. She actually looked up what she could grow in California, didn't have any preconceived ideas, and did all succulents, and created an entire balcony where she could sit and have her breakfast, and transformed our balcony into a succulent garden. The number of people who walk by our apartment, we're on the second floor, who walk by with their dogs every morning and stop and just look up. And finally, one lady said, I'm in the building next door. If I paid you, would you come over and show me how to actually get my garden going? And Lem, you actually made a really good point that if, in fact, you transform one person's life with a garden, with that kind of work, that kind of landscaping, it does lead people to look at it and go, I would like that too. That's one of the time-honored ways of building a business, is it not? Have you found that you've gotten people to gravitate towards you since you've been able to show your work to other people?
Yeah. Yes, it actually, another story. Before I met these people, the reason I was out doing their garden, I just do my garden at home. Everybody walk by, like you say, walk by and say, oh, that's such a nice garden. Would you help me do one? Oh, yes, let's go. What you got? What do you want? And this girl who, I guess she was liking me at the time. I wasn't taking it like that. Someone else brought it to my attention. But anyway, she would always come by. And one day she said, you know what? You can make some money doing this. And since you're going around helping everybody, you can make money doing it, helping people or putting in gardens. So me and her and another friend of mine and his wife, we got together and kind of brainstormed. And we came up with this idea. It was going to be called no-touch gardening. And the theory was, okay, we'll put your garden in. You don't have to touch it. And our slogan was, you reap what we sow. So we'll come out, we'll put your garden in, we'll come by, we'll water it, we'll harvest it, we'll put it on your porch. And we were trying to find a fee to charge for that wouldn't be, crazy. but we never did. I actually pitched it to this thing here called Brick and Mortar, and they heard my pitch, and it didn't go anywhere. And then I say about maybe 4 months later, now I have a job, and then they called me like, "Oh, we liked your idea. You want to get started on it?" And at that time, I was working, had a family, couldn't stop working, so it had slipped through my hands. And then, as I said, then it happened where these people, I was putting in a garden for them, and they made flyers for me. I said, the day I went to put the flyers out, this guy made me a bunch of flyers. I went out, he told me, he said, put these everywhere. Don't discriminate with anybody. Don't think nobody wants a garden. So me and my friend, we went out with these flyers, stopped in front of my mother's house. I get out the truck and go up to the neighbor. She said, well, take one and put it over there. I was like, nah, that's Gail. I know her. She's there with her daughter. He said put one in every yard. Okay. I put a flyer in their mailbox, and I'm talking about as soon as I closed the mailbox, the rain fell so hard that by the time I got back to my truck, I was drenched. I could not put out another flyer. That was the first and only flyer I put out that day. The next day, I'm over at my mom's house, and the neighbor comes out. She said, Lem, is this your flyer? She said, my daughter been talking about getting in the garden for years since she got school. Come back and my first flyer. I got my first job.
Jeff Pierce is joining me this morning in studio. He is here. He's been here since Tuesday, celebrating Vietnam veterans, giving them a chance to tell their stories as well. Chris Gonzalez, who is becoming kind of a regular feature here, and thrilled to have him. He's out there doing some programming for us. He's actually found Lemuel, who we are thrilled to have this morning. Great to have him aboard. I want everybody to go to NXTStepVets.org. That is NEXTStepVets.org, or the VFW 5354.org over there. Chris, by the way, is actually dropping in an entire acre of land to make sure this happens. The VFW is donating an acre of land to establish a garden on the property, and that's going to a local food pantry and allow veterans' families to come and get the blessings from the garden. Chris, I also, every time we talk, I always keep forgetting to talk about your golf tournaments and all the other stuff you got going on over there at the VFW Hall. And by the way, it's the VFW Hall, as you know, on a personal level, that means a lot to me. So can you kind of tell us what you guys are up to over there? Did you bring Chris? There he is. There he is. Hey, Chris.
Yeah, the Vet Golf Classic. You can register for it at VFW5354.org. It'll be on September 19th at Hickory Woods. We have a total of 26 teams. There's still about 6 more team space before we sell out. So if you haven't registered, go ahead and do so. The funding that's raised obviously from the golf tournament is split between NXTStep Vets and Waypoint Vets. For those of you on Road Gang Radio that have talked to Sarah Lee in the past, you know how special she is. So great opportunity. We're calling it Golf, Guns, and Good Times. So if you've never done golfing and a shooting range at the same time, this is definitely going to be the golf tournament you need to be at.
Let me make this really clear. We got a lot of friends out there listening. Paranormal Pie Man says their stories are finally getting told. Big hello to Marshall Platter, who's out there listening. Paranormal Pie Man is listening from Niles, Illinois. Our good friend Chef Marty, naval veteran himself, is actually saying good morning and hello to everybody out there. Good to have you on, Chef Marty, as well. If you've missed any of this because of where you've been listening on, guys, don't worry. All of it will be available on the Tube of You and the Spotify and all other places in between. The other thing is, Chris, I tell you what, I'm still trying to work it out. I'm not a golf guy, but if you can get a gun in my hand, I'm more than happy to shoot some clay. So we'll figure out how to make this work eventually. I wanted to give you guys a little more time because, as you know, I'm in charge of the show, so I get to do what I want to do when I want to do it. So I kept you on a little bit longer. Lemuel, I wanted you to kind of, in these last few moments we have together today, I wanted you to kind of unpack for our listeners what the overall plan is to help vets. In both a stuff to eat, but also learning how to grow. Have you found that you've become a good teacher of how to kind of take care of people and showing them how to actually plant and fertilize and get stuff from, as I would call, putting it in the earth to having it come out of the earth and then harvesting it?
Oh yeah, I was just in school for the sustainable horticulture program because of my passion for this. And yes, not only am I, well, of course, you know, it takes a good follower to become a good leader. So I've been following for years, and now I am ready to lead and teach and show people what it takes. There's so many people right now that are interested in not only just growing their own food, but just gardening itself, farming. You know, I mean, it is the next phase in life, I believe, because we all need to know how to actually bring forth true nutrients and stuff like that to our, not only to the food, but to our bodies. And I think this is therapeutic. One of the main things is, it's just what it does for the mind, how it eases the mind. As Chris told you, my house just burnt down back in March. We're actually still living in a hotel. Chris is actually taking care of so much of that for us that we just can't. I just don't even know how to express my gratitude for that. But yes, the plan is to start the garden, get some vets interested in gardening, showing them how to nurture the earth. You know, that one thing, you know, a lot of people don't realize is you have to nurture the earth as well, because that's what nurtures the plant. So get into, teach people how to nurture the earth and then respect the vet, nourish the plants. And I mean, it's very therapeutic. There were so many veterans that could ease their minds. I tell you what it did for me. Chris Chris had to meet me out at where my garden was one day to fill out some papers, and he was really impressed with what we were doing, and he came up with this idea, and we'd already been talking about this, me and my partners. This is what we were talking about, what we've been talking about, and it's like, here comes Chris, you know what I'm saying, like an angel, saying, okay, well, we could do this. And, yeah, I think it'll be very therapeutic, and, also give people knowledge. Excuse me, I'm walking.
That's okay. Be an active life and an active mind is a good thing. Really quickly, by the way, and now we're getting a little air in the background, by the way, as you continue your walk. I was curious, my friend. I wanted you, before we actually let you shuffle off this radio coil, to talk about your own service. We haven't really got a chance to dig into that. So tell us about you and what it meant to serve.
Oh man, so I went in at 17. Quit school, went into service, did basic at Fort Gordon, Georgia. My AIT was there as well. I was in communications. Went to Germany. I stayed my whole tour in Germany. Going best time at headquarters battery, 3rd Battalion, 71st Air Defense Artillery. And I grew up there. That's where I grew up in the service. So at 17, I was still really a kid. And there was no one my age. Everyone was in, 25 and up. So, I was kind of like the little brother. And it was really great for me because I was headed down the wrong road in life. My mom and dad split up. I started skipping school and things. But it was at 15 that I decided I was going to go in the Army. And that's what I did. When I turned 17, went straight to the recruiter, and I went in.
Let me ask you something else too before we got to wrap this up. You have a degree. Am I right? You have a degree in herbology. Do you actually have a certificate or a degree or some kind of certification in herbology?
No, I didn't actually get my degree. As I was in school, my sister's husband died, and I had to step aside and help her with that. But I have I have a degree, but it's not through school. I've been doing it so long, especially the herbs, that's what I do. I'm in the woods now walking and identifying like different things out here. Wild ginger.
Oh, wow. I tell you what.
All kind of things just grow in the wild.
We're going to get up there and meet you. I'm going to bring Claire, my spouse, up with me, who has a green thumb, who has 3 green thumbs, by the way. We're going to get her up there, and we're all going to go on one of those walks and identify some stuff. I can't thank you enough, my friend, for making the time for us today. If we went a little bit long, it's because I wanted people to know Lemuel Israel has joined us. He is the guest of Chris Gonzalez, friend of this show, friend of Road Dog, not Road Dog, Road Gang Radio. It's good to have you, my friend. It's good to have you both. Chris, one more time, tell people where they can go to find out about the amazing work you guys are doing.
Oh, yeah, it's NXTStep Vets, NXTStep, STEP, vets.org. And once again, if you want to sign up for the golf tournament, it's dfw5354.org.
Thank you both. Thank you, Lemuel. Thank you, Gonzo. I know you'll be sending more people our way. I know you'll be telling more great stories. I'm just thrilled at the fact that you understand, like many people do, that Jeff does as well here, that it's not just a matter of doing stuff, but making sure the people who are doing the doing get their stories told. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Lemuel.
Thank you.
See you, Jimmy.
All right, my brother.